You mentioned this happened. I think this has happened to you, I think, three times in your life, but it happened for the first time in Vietnam. And that was the what you relate in the book about sort of a white glow around a certain guy in Vietnam. Can you tell that story?
Yeah, the Irish call it Fey, Fey, and I don't claim to be Fey. I know some folks that are, but it was a dust. When we first got to the border, we had uh, two dusters assigned to our battery, uh, and like I said, the dusters were those twin 40 millimeter anti-aircraft guns mounted on a track chassis with kind of a semi-open turret. They were from the 1st to the 44th. And one day I see, probably a week or a week and a half after we'd been there. And at that time, it was just us. And I see this fella from 1st to the 44th packing his gear, throwing his stuff in the duffel bag. And I'm like, what are you doing? He says, I'm getting the hell out of here. He says, he's getting the hell out of this shithole, he says. So him and another guy, they were due to rotate back to the States. And as he says this, I see this aura or light coming from around him. Not so much him, and it was bright. It was almost to the point where I wanted to turn my head. And I didn't quite know what to make of this, but he's throwing his stuff in the bag, and he throws his bag over his shoulder, and a truck pulls up from his unit, and two brand new guys get out with their gear, and him and another guy climb in the back, and off they go. And I don't even remember who was standing. Somebody was standing next to me, and I said, "Did you see that?" Because I'm wondering if I'm having some kind of delusion here, and he goes, "Yeah, and that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen." A few minutes later, we started. Artillery was going over us, hitting further down the Route 9, and of course, we're pretty jaded by this time. We don't take cover unless it's fairly close. Well, 20 minutes later, the word comes back that the guys from the 1st to the 44th in that truck had taken a direct hit on the truck, and they'd all been killed. So the guy that we'd seen the white light around had been killed minutes after we saw this. And Vietnam, it was a weird place. I mean, you could see all kind of. I could have seen a troop of Korean horse cavalry with full bronze breastplates and swords going down the road in formation on white horses, and I wouldn't have thought a goddamn thing of it because it was just another weird thing in a weird place. But this was right up there on the weird scale, and I really didn't know what to make of it. It goes along with the feralness. It goes along with the operating from a different perspective because you're closer to the grain than you are in quote unquote civilization. And there's you really do become well, I quote William Manchester that said he was a Marine in the Pacific. He said, "No man in combat is truly sane, and those that remain so die very quickly." And I think there's an adaptation that takes place in combat. There's a natural constriction of emotion. You start when you're first in country, you care about everybody. But then as time goes on and people not only get killed, but get horribly wounded, you quickly realize there's worse things than death. And this this emotion constricts, and pretty soon you do this internal value system. Okay, now I'm just going to care about the Americans because it's too much to care about them all. And pretty soon it's, well, just the Army guys, or just the Marines, or just our unit, or just our section, or just our battery. And pretty soon it's just this one guy. And a lot of times when that guy gets killed, you stop caring about anybody. And I think that constriction of emotion is, first, it's necessary because you just don't have the energy, the mental energy to keep being human. And what substitutes and what comes in its place is this sense of operating at a visceral level. It's how you feel about things. You get a feeling this trail isn't right. Something's wrong, and you learn to pay attention to that, and it almost overrides your intellect because you're really operating at a whole nother level, and so you lose some things and you gain some things, and I think. It's very difficult to explain.